That is the specific thing I want to say first, because the silence in the way it is usually described does not have a texture. It is described as the absence, the void, the nothing where the something should be, the empty space where the word or the acknowledgement or the simple human "this is what I actually think" response should exist and does not exist. The silence, as the absence, is the description that makes the silence sound like the neutral thing, like the zero rather than the negative number, like the nothing rather than the something that is happening instead of the thing that should be happening. The silence is not the absence. The silence is the active thing. The texture I am describing as the specific, daily, lives in the body quality of the active silence. The silence that is being maintained, that is the result of the continuous below the level of the dramatic decision to not say the thing rather than the passive not having said it. The passive silence is the zero. The maintained silence is the negative number, is the specific accumulating costs, something everyday thing that the passive description does not capture. The texture is what the body feels, not the mind. The mind processes the silence. As information, it is the absence of the response, the not knowing, the specific epistemic condition of the person who has said the thing and has not received the thing back and is therefore in the uncertainty of the not yet knowing. The mind can hold the uncertainty, has the tools for the holding, can construct the reasonable interpretations, and can sit with the not knowing and can produce the forward motion of someone who is continuing the absence of the answer. The body is doing something else. The body is carrying the weight of the maintained silence in the specific, pre-linguistic, cannot be reasoned away way of the body that is receiving the social pain in the register where social pain lives. The register that does not distinguish between the physical and social, that processes the exclusion and the silence and the not being responded to in the same territory where the physical hurt lies. The body knows the silence is happening. The mind can construct the reasons. The body is not interested in the reasons. I want to explain what I mean by the silence is slowly destroying me. Not destroying in the dramatic sense, not the crisis version, not the acute everything is at stake. I cannot continue quality of the person who is in the emergency. The other kind, the slow kind, the specific, unglamorous, nobody's watching kind of destroying that does not produce the visible evidence of the destruction, because the destruction is happening below the surface, in the interior, in the specific, quiet, cost something everyday way of the thing that is not dramatic enough to demand the attention and is therefore never fully addressed, and is therefore continuing past the point where the addressing would have been the obvious intervention. The slow destruction is more dangerous in the fast kind, not because it is worse in the acute moment, because it is survivable in the daily sense. The fast destruction demands the response, produces the crisis that the crisis response system is designed to handle, gets the attention of the person and the people around the person, and generates the intervention that the acute thing requires. The slow destruction is below the crisis threshold every day, just below manageable in the day, accumulating across the days. The accumulation is what the slow destruction does. It does not cross the threshold in any single day. It crosses it in the aggregate. In the specific, long-running, nobody noticed because each day it was fine aggregate. I am not in the crisis. I am in the aggregate. The aggregate has been running for long enough. Let me tell you what the specific silence is. Not the general sounds of a non-communicative relationship. Not the ambient sounds of two people who have drifted into the less said version of what they were. The specific silence. The located has a name, is about a particular thing, silence. I said something real. Not recently, a while ago now. In the specific organized, I have been building toward this form of the true interior thing, finally finding the form it had been waiting for. The form arrived. I said the thing. I put the interior into the world and the specific, irreversible, now it exists outside of me form of the thing that has been said. And then, nothing. Not the dramatic nothing. The ordinary nothing. The continuation of the ordinary rhythm of the days, as if the saying had not happened. As if the interior thing, released into the world, had landed in a space that did not register the landing. That continued in its previous motion without the adjustment that the landing should produced. The non-adjustment is the silence, not the absence of the words necessarily. There have been words since. Ordinary words, the words of the continued ordinary rhythm, but not the words about the thing. Not the acknowledgement of the thing, not the response to the interior thing in any of its forms, not the yes, not the no, not the I need time, not the I received it, and here is what I am doing with the receiving. The thing was said. The thing has not been responded to. The silence about the specific thing is what is destroying me slowly. I want to say something about the difference between the rejection and the silence, because the title puts them in the specific relationship of the comparison, and the comparison requires explanation. The rejection might hurt, the silence is slowly destroying. These are not the same order of thing, and the difference is worth the full examination. The rejection is the response. I want to say that clearly, and without the softening that the word rejection usually receives. The rejection is the response that says no, that says the thing you offered is not the thing I am receiving. It says the answer to the question you're saying was implicitly asking is the answer that is not the one you were hoping for. The rejection is painful, is real pain, is a specific located, has a source pain of the person who's offered the real thing and has been told that the real thing is not what is wanted. The rejection pain is clean, not comfortable, clean, in a specific sense of the pain that knows what it is and where it comes from and what it is telling you. The rejection tells you something, tells you the answer, tells you that the direction of the energy needs to change, that the investment needs to redirect, that the specific particular addressed to this person interior thing that was offered needs to find a different address, or to be held more privately, or to be understood as the thing that was true and is not returned, and that the not returning is the information. The rejection pain process is not quickly, not without the full weight of the grief that the rejection produces in the person who offered the real thing. Not without the specific particular, I was wrong about the reciprocity cost of the person who had built something in the interior that the rejection is just revealed was built without the corresponding foundation of the other person. But it processes, the clean pain moves through. The clean pain has the direction of the through it. The silence does not process. The silence does not have the through it direction, because the silence does not provide the information that the through it requires. The through it requires the answer. The answer is not available. The answer is what the silence is withholding. And the withholding of the answer leaves the person who asked the question, who offered the real thing, who put the interior into the world, in the specific, suspended, neither here nor there condition of the not yet knowing. The not yet knowing is not the same as the uncertainty. The uncertainty is the condition someone who does not yet have the answer and is continuing in the absence of the answer with the full understanding that the answer is pending, that the pending is temporary, that at some point the pending will resolve into the known thing. The not yet knowing of the maintained silence is different. It is the uncertainty that does not resolve, not because the answer does not exist. The answer exists. The person who is maintaining the silence has an answer. Has had the answer perhaps since the saying of the thing, has been in the maintaining of the silence, withholding the answer from the person who needs it. The withholding of the answer is the choice. The choice to withhold is the active silence. The active silence is not the zero, it is the negative number that accumulates. I have been trying to understand why the silence, not from the accusatory position, from the genuinely curious position of the person who has been in the silence long enough to have moved through the available interpretations and who still does not have the one that makes the continued silence the necessary thing rather than the chosen thing. First interpretation I tried was the not ready. The not ready is the real thing for some people in some situations. The specific, genuine has-location condition of the person who has received the real interior thing and who needs the time and the space to locate themselves in relation to what has been received before they are able to respond. The not ready is not the avoidance. Is not the managed distance. It's the honest temporary condition of someone whose interior is doing the work that the reception of the real thing requires and who is not yet at the place where the response is available. I have held the not ready interpretation. I had held it for longer than the not ready would require. The not ready produces the response when the readiness arrives. Even the readiness that takes the longest eventually arrives. And when it arrives, the response comes. The response might be small, might be the partial version of the full response. But the not ready, when it resolves, produces something. The not ready has not produced something. The not ready interpretation has expired. The second interpretation I tried was the not knowing how. The not knowing how is also real. It is the specific condition of the person who has the response in the interior, but does not have the form for the response, who cannot find the words, who is not withholding, but is genuinely unable to produce the form that the response requires, who is in the frustrating, sometimes protracted, not from the choosing condition of the person whose interior content and their expressive capacity are not yet aligned. I have compassion for the not knowing how. I have lived in it. Have been the person whose interior had the thing and whose words were not yet available to carry the thing. Have understood the specific, unglamorous, not performed frustration of the person who has the real content and cannot find the form. But the not knowing how has a workaround. The workaround is the partial form, the incomplete version. The I don't have the full words, but I want you to know the receiving happened version. The workaround does not require the complete form. Requires only the acknowledgement. The specific, minimal, this is enough for now acknowledgement that the thing was received, that the person who said the thing is not in the void, but the silence is the not yet found the word silence, rather than the no answer silence. The acknowledgement has not arrived. The not knowing how interpretation requires the acknowledgement. The acknowledgement has not arrived. The third interpretation is the one I have been most reluctant to hold. The reluctance is the specific interior, this conclusion is uncomfortable reluctance of someone who has built something in the interior that the conclusion threatens. Not threatens in the existential sense, in the specific sense of the conclusion that requires the revision of the understanding of the situation, and the revision of the understanding of the situation requires the revision of the interior thing that was built on the previous understanding. The third interpretation is the one I do not want to be true. The third interpretation is that the silence is the answer, not the explicit no. The implicit one, the specific, indirect, not requiring the discomfort of the direct saying version of the no, that the silence provides to the person who is patient enough or compassionate enough or conflict avoidant enough to accept the implicit version rather than requiring the explicit one. The silence as the answer. The maintained silence as the implicit no that is being offered in the place of the explicit one, because the explicit one is more uncomfortable to give, and the person giving it has decided consciously or not that the discomfort of the explicit no is greater than the cost of the continued silence to the person receiving the silence. The cost of the continued silence to the person receiving it is the destroying, the slow kind, the below the crisis threshold kind, the aggregate kind. I want to say something about the asymmetry. The asymmetry is the specific, uncomfortable, rarely named quality of the silence situation that makes the silence different from the rejection in the way I have been describing. In the rejection situation, both people are in the discomfort. The person who is rejected is in the pain of the rejection. The person who rejects is in the discomfort of the delivering of the no. The no costs both people something. The costs are different in quality. The rejected person's cost is usually larger, but both people are in the cost. The cost is distributed. In the silence situation, the cost is not distributed. The person maintaining the silence is in the discomfort of the unreceived thing, is sitting with the knowledge of the thing they have not responded to, is living in the awareness of the person waiting for the response. This is real and it has its own cost, and I do not dismiss the cost. But the person in the silence is not in the destroying. The person in the silence has the answer. Has the specific, resolved, I know what I think about this quality of the person who has processed the received thing and has arrived at the answer and is choosing not to give the answer. The choosing not to give is the choice that is available to the person who has the answer. The person waiting for the answer does not have that choice. The person waiting is in the not knowing. The not knowing is what destroys. The person maintaining the silence has the answer. The person waiting for the answer is being destroyed slowly. The asymmetry is the silence costs the one maintaining it, the discomfort of the unreceived thing. The silence costs the one waiting for it, the slow destruction of the not knowing. Discomfort and destruction are not the same order of thing. I want to say something about why I have not asked directly. Not because the asking is not available. The asking is always available. It is the obvious intervention. The end of the not knowing is available in the direct form. The direct form is, I need the response. Whatever the response is, the yes or the no or the I need more time or the I received it and here is where I am with it. Any of those. In the direct form. From the asking that makes the providing of the response the obvious next thing. I have not asked. Not from the fear of the no. The no is the rejection, and the rejection hurts, and the hurt is the clean pain, and the clean pain processes. The fear of the no is real, and I want to be honest about its reality. But the fear of the no is not the reason I have not asked. The reason is the specific, uncomfortable, not flattering to me reason. I have been hoping the silence would resolve itself. Have been maintaining the hope that the not yet having responded is the not yet rather than the not going to. Have been giving the silence the benefit of the not ready interpretation past the point where the not ready interpretation was the accurate one. Have been in the specific self-protective, conflict-avoiding way of someone who has the real thing in the interior and is not yet willing to receive the no that would require the revision of the interior thing. I have been choosing the not knowing over the potential no. The not knowing has been destroying me. I have been choosing the destroying over the clean pain. This is the specific, honest, unflattering accounting of what the silence has been producing in me, not the passive experience of the person who is being done to, the active experience of the person who is participating in their own not knowing, who is maintaining the hope as the protection against the potential answer, who is in the specific way of the person who has built something in the interior on the foundation of the other person, unwilling to receive the information that would require the dismantling of the built thing. The built thing is real. The foundation might not be there. The built thing without the foundation is the thing the silence is slowly destroying, because the built thing cannot sustain indefinitely on the foundation of the hope. The hope requires the answer to remain possible. The answer becomes less possible with each day of the maintained silence. The built thing is therefore becoming more at risk with each day. The destroying is the risk becoming the reality, one day at a time. Below the crisis threshold, in the aggregate. The second part of this is the asking, not the accounting of the asking. The actual asking, the direct form, the end of the choosing, the not knowing over the potential no, the end of the silence on my side, which is the only silence I have the authority to end. I cannot end the other silence. I can end mine. Mine is the silence about the silence. The silence about what the maintained silence has been doing to the interior, about the aggregate, about the texture, about the slow kind of the destroying, about the asymmetry. That silence is ending. The asking is coming, not as the confrontation, not as the organized pressure that forces the answer from the person who has been maintaining the silence. As the honest, direct, I need the response in whatever form it takes asking of the person who's finally understood that the clean pain of the possible no is better than the slow destruction of the maintained not knowing. The clean pain is better. I have understood this. The asking is coming. The second part is where it comes, not with the architecture of the organized asking, not with the preamble or the context setting or the specific careful construction of the person who is managing the asking for the reception it will produce, in the plain form, the direct form, the form that has no architecture, because the architecture would be the distance between the asking and the thing being asked. I said, I need you to end the silence, not dramatically. In the specific plane, this is the accurate description of what I need form of the person who has finally located the exact shape of the need and is giving it in the exact form. I said, not necessarily with the yes. The yes is not what I am requiring. I am requiring the response. Whatever the response is, the yes or the no or the I am not there yet or the I received the thing and here is where I am with it. Any of those. In the direct form, in the form that ends the not knowing. I said, the not knowing is what is destroying me, not the potential no. The not knowing, I want you to understand the difference. There was a long quiet, not the comfortable kind, the full kind, the kind that has the weight of the thing that has finally been said in it. Then I said, I have been afraid of what my answer would do to you. I said, your silence is already doing the thing you were afraid the answer would do. It has been doing it for months. The thing you were protecting me from with the silence has been happening anyway, just slowly, just below the surface, just in the place where nobody could see it, including you. Another quiet. Then, I know. Then, I am sorry. Then the answer. It was not the yes. I want to say that plainly because the honest accounting requires the plain saying. It was the no, the specific, direct, finally given no that the silence had been withholding. The no that said the thing I had offered was real and had been received as real and was not the thing being returned the same form. The no landed in the clean pain place, not the destroying place. The clean place, the specific located, has a source, now I know place. The clean pain is better, I said that in the first part, and I want to confirm it from the inside now. The clean pane has the through it direction. The destroying did not have the through it direction. Was the aggregate, was the below the threshold daily cost of the maintained not knowing. The no ended the aggregate, started the through it. The silence is over. The answer is in the world. The interior thing is being revised, not destroyed. Revised. The revision is the through it. The through it has begun. That is enough for now. That is exactly enough.